From the Lord's Resistance Army of Warlord Joseph Kony to Al-Shabaab and the Allied Democratic Forces, ADF, Uganda is no stranger to violent extremist and terror attacks. The country registered the largest deterioration in the Global Terrorism Index score in 2021, which was directly attributed to the back-to-back terrorist attacks that claimed 7 lives and injured 37 people between August and November 2021. Through its media agency, AMAC, Islamic State said the attackers were all Ugandan foot soldiers of its so-called Islamic government. Most recently, the country was once again engulfed in shock and grief when suspected ADF terrorists attacked Lubiriha Secondary School in Kasese, Western Uganda, on 16th June 2023. A total of 38 students lost their lives, 17 of whom were burnt beyond recognition. While terrorist attacks immediately affect the killed, wounded, witnesses, first responders and their families, it is hard to tell how far the effect goes. This is because the aftershock significantly influences local communities where the attacks happen, as well as the broader population. When individuals are being lured into violent extremist and terrorist activities, many never imagine the carnage and long-term devastation that may arise from their actions. They are only driven by their own selfish interests and the interests of the terrorist leaders they serve. They have a very limited perspective of the activities they conduct and the violence they perpetuate. In the following stories, we highlight the enduring legacy of terrorism in Uganda, told by the victims in their own words. Terrorists indiscriminately target populations of all cultures, religions, and professional backgrounds, and so those affected belong to all walks of life. The largest casualties of their acts are the ordinary people: Christian, Muslim, professional drivers, security operatives, traders, students, teachers, stay-home mothers, refugees, and many others.
I am a refugee from the Democratic Republic of Congo who fled to Uganda to escape the rebels. Tragically, my husband was killed. His assassins continued to pursue us, stoning our house. Fearing for my life, I fled in the dead of the night, leaving my children behind. At the time of the incident, I earned a living by selling tea and food spices. I would sell them in offices and other places with potential customers. I was walking when the bomb blast occurred.
Professionally, I work as a motor driver, and in 2021, I was active and thoroughly enjoying life.
My life was like for more other personnel. For you see, like the way you see everybody trying to look for something for his family.
Before my daughter left for school, she wrote down prayers on pieces of papers and pinned them in the sitting room. God, guide me through my educational struggles, and every time I remember those words my daughter wrote before leaving, it deeply saddens my heart.
On 3rd September 2023 at around 11 a.m., security operatives intercepted Chintu Abdullahuman, a 28-year-old resident of Buama sub-county in the Central District of Mpigi, who had disguised as a churchgoer at Miracle Center Cathedral in Lubaga Division, Kampala. He was found in possession of a remote control boom and a disguised explosive device he was suspected to have planned to use for an attack on the churchgoers. With an estimated sitting capacity of over 10,000 people, the impact would have been catastrophic had Chintu's plot succeeded. Intelligence must have played a significant role in thwarting this attack. Accurate and timely warnings informed by accurate intelligence are key in foiling terrorist attacks and disrupting terrorist capabilities. But sometimes, intelligence falls short, resulting in two surprise attacks whose magnitude one can never foresee. The victims' lack of preparation in relation to whether, when, where, and how the enemy will strike makes us all extremely vulnerable. Tales from the 2021 terror attacks in Kampala and the 2023 Kasese attacks clearly demonstrate this.
It was 11 p.m. We came from the prep room. We had some guys knocking our door. They told us that to open for them. We refused. They were speaking Kiswahili, Lingala, Kiharabu, and some Lukonjo. They were using hammers to break the door.
On June 16th, we heard gunshots coming from the direction of the school, and we initially thought the students had gone on strike. We woke up and went to investigate, only to discover that the students had been attacked and some had been killed. I returned home and went back the next morning.
It was a bright early morning. I happened to go to CPS Kampala. So when I went there, I had some of my officers who are colleagues, so I went there just to check on them. But little did I know that the incident was to happen. So as we were still talking just with the officers, it was an hour at around 10 there. Actually, now happened an explosion. At first I took it like just a tire of the vehicle, because since we were still in the vehicle, I took it like maybe the tire of the vehicle has burst.
When the day began, I headed to work around 12 p.m., engaging in my usual tasks. I was on the verge of concluding my routine when the bomb detonated. In the aftermath, we, now victims of the explosion, gathered. It was then that a male colleague informed me that he had witnessed individuals placing an object in a black polythene bag under one of the chairs. Initially, he assumed they were customers, given the bar setting.
The effect on victims is devastating, diverse, and far-reaching. This effect is also experienced at many interrelated levels, individually, collectively, and societally.
They were hammering the heads with the hammers and the hose, and after killing the students, they went outside. They were saying that, let's see what the president will do. We have entered Uganda. That was the only word I had. Since that attack, what I'm dreaming is not good. Because every day I'm bringing my friends, every day.
I learned that the students had been killed but was unable to locate my son until July 5th, when his body was identified through DNA testing. Around 5 a.m. that morning, when we arrived at the scene, security forces had already cordoned off the area. They informed us that all the bodies had been taken to the nearby government mortuary. Upon checking, we were unable to identify our son's body. It was then that we learned that most of the bodies had been badly burnt and were beyond recognition. My husband and I were eventually called in for DNA testing, which confirmed the identity of my son's body.
Government nga kutwa biripima ebyatwamapima abo byebi muliye mtutu abere pima.
When we were handed the body, the authorities instructed not to open the casket due to the strong odor, as it might be unbearable to witness.
Like the other parents who lost their children, I am deeply saddened by the tragedy that befell the school. Additionally, as a parent, I am not at peace because, despite the students being killed, I am yet to see my son, and this situation is deeply troubling me. The government's delay in providing a statement or confirming that they have not been able to locate my son has only added to my distress. To honor our cultural traditions, we are preparing for a family service to perform several rituals. These rituals will help provide closure and allow each of us to resume our daily lives, as we have not been able to engage in any economic activities while awaiting news of our son.
This grave you are seeing before me is for Vera Amina Asinet. A mistaken identity, we picked a dead body, suspecting and thinking that possibly that was Vera Amina Asinet. We brought the dead body to our home, and some other persons again came and said, you have picked a dead body which is not yours. And of course, as people who were under cold blood, burnt with so many scars, we could not identify truly. And that other family, when they described the features of the dead body, we realized that was not Vera Amina. We had even dug the grave, which took us some 2 weeks pending. The dead body was already in a coffin. We had even bought a coffin. We had even brought the dead body to this very home of mine. And the dead body was picked from the real house to be taken back to Wera Hospital by Uganda police. It was some 2 weeks later after this days. The UPDF, which reportedly said that we have picked a dead body and is of a younger lady, tender age. And that's why we also took consent to go and identify whether she was Amina. She was killed by a knife, it doesn't disclose, but the dead body was really in shambles.
I had sold a piece of land to support my late daughter's education, and she had made a promise and a pledge to repurchase the land and build a larger house for me. She was genuinely a good-hearted girl, beloved by the community. When we saw our daughter, she had been struck at the forehead, burnt on her back, and had sustained an injury to her eye.
The government says that there were some children abducted, and they believe that my daughter may be among those who were taken. They have collected DNA samples 4 times, but so far, there has been no success in identifying her. We haven't received any official communication from the government regarding efforts to rescue the abducted children. Our only source of hope is through rumors that the Ugandan army is conducting rescue operations in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
It felt like a nightmare, with blood all over my body. Most bystanders were too scared to help until a compassionate guide came to my aid. She took me to a nearby clinic where I received pain-relieving injections upon arrival. Some of my flesh was damaged and required stitches to mend. Later, I was transferred to another private hospital. My left cheek had been severely damaged, and I was eventually referred to Mulago National Hospital's casualty section. It itched and felt like electric shock sensation in my face, requiring painkillers. At Mbara Hospital in Western Uganda, where I received eye treatment, the doctors prescribed eyeglasses worth 450,000 Uganda shillings, about $120. I decided to postpone getting them until I can afford the additional costs. I used to walk long distances and work, but I can no longer do so. The sunlight affects me greatly, making my skin itch.
Wherever you see scars on my legs and hands, those were wounds that bled so profusely that journalists initially declared me dead. I'm one of those who were severely affected, and tragically, a colleague lost her life. I regained consciousness the next morning and underwent surgery, during which doctors removed 14 nails from my body, except for the one stuck in my stomach. Throughout my time in the hospital, my thoughts were consumed by my family. I'm the sole provider for my mother and children, and whenever I thought about them, it felt as if the world had come to an end. The challenge I face now is finding employment. Prospective employers are hesitant due to my scars, and they doubt my ability to work.
This particular evening, though, which is something that I look back and ask why, I usually don't run. I literally sped off. I saw the call, I excused myself, and the moment I was clear of people, I technically sped. I picked up my phone call and I said, hello. What I had was this. I don't know about other people. That's what I had. In my mind, I thought probably an askari saw me running that fast and thought I was a thief. So he had shot me. Through that whole noise, I listened, and the little bits I could pick were amasanyalaze gassa abantu. It didn't make sense to me. In that moment, my mind told me these were the suicide bombers, because there was no way a bomb would find itself there. So when I heard that it was a bomb, my mind quickly tabulated, get away to the farthest point possible. For a moment, it rained flesh and blood. I know that vividly because the shirt that I wore was sky blue, and it was all riddled with dots and flesh pieces.
The whole shock in me was about the person who died, because every time I could wake up, alarming, shouting, almost running out of the house.
It was at the hospital that I heard the shocking revelation that I had been placed in the mortuary, suspected to be dead. It took me about 3 months to fully comprehend the extent of the incident. During those 3 months, I underwent surgery to replace the damaged flesh in my leg with tissue from other parts of my body. My hand was also broken and my body was riddled with holes. The pain was excruciating, especially in my left leg. I used to be a cheerful and outgoing person, but life has drastically changed for me. I lost my voice, and I constantly experienced discomfort. Now, I can only communicate with my friends. Life has become incredibly challenging, and the bomb blast had a profound and lasting impact on me.
Terrorism seriously impairs health and the enjoyment of human rights. As such, numerous international declarations reaffirm the duty of states to provide a remedy for victims of human rights abuses and violations of international humanitarian law. A comprehensive articulation of this duty is found in the Declaration of Basic Principles, General Assembly Resolution 30/3452. In the context of Uganda, some victims have reported receiving some form of emergency assistance from government, particularly in the form of financial support to meet burial expenses for those who lost loved ones and to meet medical costs in the immediate aftermath of the attacks. Of the 15 victims engaged under this initiative, only one reported having received specialized trauma care in a government military medical facility. Long-term medical and financial assistance remains unavailable for families to cope with recurring treatment costs, and some victims' livelihoods remain frail.
After 6 months, I'm receiving an injection of where I pay 250 every injection for these fragments, because the doctor said they can't remove those fragments, because the moment they remove them, it means I'll be REM.
Ugandans and non-Ugandans, let's support each other and be vigilant in our surroundings. If you notice anything suspicious, whether it's a bag left unattended in a market or someone acting strangely, take action. Immediately inform the police or reach out to a local chairperson or another security personnel to report the situation. Even if someone has entrusted you with a bag, verify its contents before agreeing to watch over it. As survivors of traumatic events, we want to emphasize that we pose no threat. It's disheartening when we are stigmatized, labeled as victims of bombings, creating unnecessary fear. If you come across someone like me, don't run away. Understand that we are on a journey of recovery, and your support means a lot. To foster unity among bomb victims, it would be beneficial for us to gather, share our experiences, and pray together. Designating a specific day for such gatherings can help strengthen our community, showing that healing is possible and that we are not alone in facing our challenges.
Ultimately, these experiences serve as a stark reminder of the ongoing threat of terrorism and the urgent need for comprehensive strategies to counter radicalization and extremism in Uganda. The testimonies are also evidence that supporting terror victims in their recovery is a long-term commitment that requires the collective efforts of government, civil society, healthcare providers, and the broader community to help them heal and rebuild their lives.